Alright, so hello. Today I usually only do videos on my YouTube channel for like school things, like things that I have to record for like educational purposes. And I guess this is educational, but it's sort of like just for my own. I want to record a video because I want to teach something. But yeah, so today I'm going to be teaching about something that seems kind of elementary, but it's something that I think people should also know more about because it's so basic and not many people know the process of photosynthesis. We all have plants in our homes, in our rooms. Like I'm very basic and I have many plants on my windowsill and in my own room. And so why not teach about the process of photosynthesis and what goes into it? So today, that is what I will be doing. So a few fun facts that I kind of wanted to start off with and share with you guys is that the earth has more than 80,000 species of edible plants, but here on earth there's only 90% of the foods that we as humans eat only come from just 30 plants. So I think to me that's fascinating that we kind of create these habits of only eating from the same plants or not eating from more than just 30 of the same plants, even though there's 90% and 80,000 species of edible plants. So yeah, to kind of go ahead and jump right into it, what is photosynthesis? Also not many people know the root word of what it is, or you learned it such a long time ago you don't even remember what it is. So it's really basic, and it comes from the Greek vocabulary, and it really comes down from photo meaning light and synthesis meaning combining. And so when I continue on, you will learn what exactly it is that we are combining, or what the plant is combining. So also, I guess another, like the actual definition of what it is this process of how plants make their own food. It's the conversion of sunlight into chemical energy. So, like when you think about plants, what do they need? Plants also, it's kind of like when plants cook. So plants need essential ingredients and tools when making their own food. So what are those essential tools and ingredients that they use? Well, the first one is also very basic, and it's light, which comes from the sun, the water, which comes from rain and the ground. It's the nutrients that they will soak up, which comes from the soil, and then it's the carbon dioxide, which comes from the air. And then you have to think about it. Well, what is the process which they use, or how they cook those ingredients and they use those tools? So they use those tools and they feed itself by using a root system to suck up the nutrients from the soil. And how do they use that? So, well, I brought some examples of how they do that. So what they do is they have a xylem in the plant and connects all the way from the roots. Unfortunately, I don't have any plants that show the root system uprooted in my room, but here it's kind of like a straw. So basically, in the center of this plant would be a straw, which is known as its xylem. And what they do is connect it all the way to the bottom of this root would be the xylem as well. And they suck up all the water into this plant. And the xylem is also found in this leaf. It goes all the way throughout the leaf system. So I'm going to show you guys closer into it. You can see how the xylem branches off into the leaf itself. And here in this other leaf, it's actually a lot better example because you can see the vein system. So the xylem can also be thought of as how we in humans have blood vessels. The xylem itself is not just a singular one. In the single branch is one xylem. However, in the leaf, it branches off into multiple xylems, and that can be thought of as blood vessels, and that transports all the nutrients that it soaks up from the soil. It soaks up the nutrients from the carbon dioxide, from the water, and it's thought of as its transportation tool. So something else about plants is that they also, like humans, have pores, but they're not called pores, they're called stomata. So in the stomata in the plant, they're found on either the tops or the bottoms of leaves. And so you can't see them here. They're not visible to the human eye. You would need a microscope. But however, that's kind of how the leaf produces air exchange or gas exchange. And so that's what a plant uses to produce oxygen and to intake carbon dioxide. So if you're thinking about the process of photosynthesis, all right, you think, okay, it's breathing in this carbon dioxide from the air, and then also in the stomata, it is producing oxygen as part of the product of photosynthesis. So this is a single leaf of a plant that I picked off of, but in each leaf there are thousands and thousands of cells called mesophyll cells. These mesophyll cells are what actually contains chloroplasts, and I'm sure a few people, you might have heard of the term called chloroplast. So that is what actually makes the leaves give it its green color, and that is also very important in the role of photosynthesis, because once the carbon dioxide and the water and sunlight enter the chloroplast cell, well then that is what the process of photosynthesis is. That is actually what causes photosynthesis to take place. So in the next part, I'm going to kind of explain and show to you guys a board there's an actual equation of what photosynthesis is. So here this is the photosynthesis equation. Here on the left you see the reactants, and then on the right of the arrow you see the products. So right, we have our carbon dioxide and our water. Those are our reactants. So it's what the leaf breathes into the stomata, and then also a mixture of our water and our sunlight. That all is going into our chloroplasts. And then on our right, once it creates that process of photosynthesis, or it goes through the stages of it, it will create something known as C6H12O6, which is the compound for sugar. And it also creates oxygen, O2. So these are our products. So it may also known as sugar or glucose. So once you have your photosynthesis that is produced, it creates your glucose, and it also creates oxygen. So oxygen is released from the stomatas of the pores of your leaves, and that is what we humans, we breathe in. So we breathe that in, and then we exhale carbon dioxide. So we have kind of a relationship with plants. So it's really good that we breathe it in, and then they also give us oxygen, and we breathe out carbon dioxide. So one other thing about plants and with photosynthesis is that with glucose, they can either use glucose immediately for a food source, or they can store the glucose as a form of starch in their leaves. So when they don't use the starch right away and they're storing it, they use it as a simulation on days that it's really dark, or it hasn't been sunny right away, or it's been days where it's been really shady. And so they use that stored glucose to, like I said, to simulate the process of photosynthesis. So finally, to kind of just recap, what is the definition of photosynthesis again? Well, I said it's a combination, and what is it the combination of? It is a combination of sunlight, carbon dioxide, and water, and then throughout the process of it, we get our products, which are glucose, which is the plant's food source, and then also oxygen, which is also our source of air. And so, yeah, that was pretty much the whole lesson of what I wanted to tell you guys. It's not very rough. It wasn't something super informational. I think everybody knew the basics of what photosynthesis is. I kind of wanted to refresh a few people if you didn't remember what it was. I hope you found this informational, and the next video I kind of plan on making is the body parts of a plant and the plant's reproduction process, depending on what kind of plant it is. So thank you guys so much for watching, and yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed.